Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining me this morning on my Buzz with Bizzy Crochet podcast. It has been a hot minute since I have done an interview, but today we are going to be talking with Erin James from the Crafty Housewife Yarns, and I'm super excited for you to meet her because she's a spinner and she's a very, very interesting woman, and I love talking with her. But I do want to remind you that if you are watching on YouTube, and if you enjoyed today's interview, make sure that you like and subscribe to the Bizzy Crochet YouTube channel so that you can stay up to date with all of my latest podcast interviews and tutorial videos. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and bring Erin in now. Hi, Erin. Thanks so much
Hi.
for joining me today on the Buzz with Bizzy Crochet. I'm super excited for you to get to talk to my audience.
Well, I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get started with like the simple questions. Tell us a little bit about who you are, where are you from? What's your family like?
Cool. Okay. Well, those I can probably field those pretty easily. My name is Erin James, and I'm the owner of Crafty Housewife Yarns, and I also sort of the My Local Wool. We recently just absorbed into Crafty Housewife Yarns, so we'll just stick that in there together. I'm a mom. I have two little kids. I have two girls. They just had birthdays. They are 8 and 10. They got
Those are
to get
great
used to
ages.
saying that. They are. They're so funny. Like I definitely have nothing bad to say about 8 or 10. And I'm married, and I have a dog and two birds, and I make lots
Awesome.
of yarn and bad jokes on the internet. And here I am.
Well, you're my kind of people then. So what kind of dog do you have?
She is a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, and her name is Jolene because we live in Knoxville.
Oh,
And she is so cute, she will steal your man. It's the ongoing problem at our house. The kids get upset because my husband always says that Jolene is his favorite child. And like they know he's joking, but like he's kind of
yeah.
not joking. So, it's an apt name. And she is in a lot of, you said I have a YouTube channel. And so she's actually our second Cavalier. And so both
Is she
her
a
and our
ginger?
say what?
Is she a ginger?
No, she's tricolor, and our first one was a Blenheim, and they're in lots of my videos. So there's always, and like I forget they're there, but there's
Yeah.
generally a sleeping Cavalier in the, and usually my children at different varying ages in the background of most of my videos.
That's awesome, though. I love the family atmosphere of videos, and I love watching people just share their life, and that, we don't have to be tight and stuffy. It can be very comfortable. Alrighty, I would like to talk to you about your business. And let's start with your business name because you and I had a little bit of a conversation before we started. And I love the kind of tongue-in-cheek a- attitude, I guess, of your business name.
Yes, well, that's what I was saying. My business name that was never really supposed to be a business name. My business started out really small. I was basically just my goal was if I could sell a few random hats on Etsy, and then when I started spinning, it was amazing to me, and I loved it. And having a fine art background, I personally loved like the one of a kind aspect of it.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I was like, that's the thing. If I can just get the hand spun to the people on the internet.
Mhm.
And so the name of the business was literally just on Etsy when it's like type in the name of the shop. And we're from South Carolina, even though we're in Tennessee
Mhm,
now. But we had been living in Washington State when we had
mhm.
the girls and when I started the business. And it was Eastern Washington. I did not particularly fit in culturally. And so many things that I grew up with just being kind of like culturally the South, like manners, certain ways of phrasing things, doing things like yarn crafts and sewing and cooking and that sort of thing. I felt I was always getting the reaction from people that I was like this repressed Southern belle or something, which
Oh
was like
no.
random, that was not how I felt about myself at all. And so the name
Mhm.
was just kind of a joke on being a crafty housewife. And I started out with kind of more a vintage pattern notion. So it
Mhm.
went with the theme. But it was
Yeah.
mainly just a joke on people's perceptions of, that anything that was stereotypically old fashioned or feminine was therefore bad.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
the double entendre of crafty also meaning smart,
Yeah.
like being crafty. So, that was what it meant. And then what I was telling you, it did make me laugh. I started noticing on, as my business grew and grew, on my analytics of my current site, I started having these referrals from someplace that I didn't know where they were. And I was like, what is this? I'm like, that's great, but where are these coming from? And when I went and clicked through to the URL, it was some sort of list on the internet that was like 20 best places to buy yarn online. And for the list, which I was like, oh, wonderful, fantastic. And when I looked at the description for my business, it was, and you'd still find it, it's out there somewhere. It was, despite the sexist name, still a great place to buy yarn. And I was like, how am I? I was just like, okay, whatever. So we've taken it as a joke and kind
Oh
of
my gosh.
And then our branding is like very pink and gray and taupe, and everybody says not to do pink.
It's a cute website.
Yeah, thank you. I like it. So now we keep joking now that with the Barbie craze, which I love Barbie, but like everybody's into pink now. And I'm like, I was pink when none of you people liked pink.
Yes, me too. I've got Barbie on my shelf up there. Like I've got a whole collection of Barbie stuff. I know you can't see it, but
I did. Yeah, I saw her up in the background.
My little Peter Rabbit one, collector's one, and then I've got my little Barbie in a tractor because I grew up on a farm in Wisconsin. So, I mean,
Yeah, I've been pink and tacky forever, so I'm glad I'm in style for once.
Barbie was always my favorite toy, and I'm just not going to be ashamed of it.
Exactly.
So, I'm a little behind here, but this is Erin's website if you want to go and check it out, because there's a lot of really great resources on there. And not to, take anything, we're going to stay fun, but I want to get serious too, because I really, really like your website and the fact that you're very much an advocate for the small farmer, the small business. I really like the various things that you have available from small farms on your website. Do you want to talk about a few of those?
Sure. No, I'm excited that that's what you're excited about, because sometimes it does feel like shouting into the void. It took me a long time to find kind of where brand positioning we were, because, you start out and of course you look at the bigger sites like Knit Picks, and then I got into spinning, and you look at the bigger site, like Paradise Fibers and all the ones that people go to more. And
Right.
So then you're always tempted to be like, I should be more like them. But I don't know. I grew up in, like I said, my husband and I, we went to high school together. So we both grew up in a very small town in South Carolina, just a bit inland of Myrtle Beach. And I hated that, like, no small businesses ever did well. And it looks like it might be picking up a little bit now, so I'm trying not to talk bad about it. But when I was younger, I mean, just a restaurant would open, it would close. Like a shop would open, it would close. And it's just the main street was dead. Like I said, we actually have a coffee shop there now. Like, so like we're gaining momentum in Marion. But I just personally always hated that nothing that wasn't like the dollar store ever did well there. And when I went to college in Charleston and got, I worked in the fine art market and that sort of thing, I really got into like artist promotion, for like individual artist promotion. And so
nice.
I think it was kind of once I saw like being able to, like I said, with individual like artists, because we worked with some of the local guilds and whatever, of just what like the right promotion and marketing, which I enjoy and I think I'm good at, behind somebody that had the talent, like that you could take somebody else's talent and really push it to where it was actually making them money. Because I feel like, nobody even likes to talk about money. I like to talk about money, but I mean,
it's part of it
in business. And I mean, if you're going to support, you want there to be farms and fluffy lambs and designers and people that make, if you want there to be business, those people have to make money. And so you have so many talented people. And then especially I felt like in the farming, but also just in the fiber artist community, that they were so much more talented than myself. Like I can definitely teach you to spin. I can knit things, and I do have very basic patterns. I can crochet just a little tiny bit and look stupid. But there are so many people that are so much more talented than me, but they couldn't close that loop on turning it into money, which is what they needed. And then they would quit because they couldn't feed their animals and they couldn't keep doing it. And so when I kind of fell into the back end of it of, well, I like working online and I like marketing and indie
Mhm.
marketing and artist promotion end of it was what I was actually like. I like the crafting for me.
Mhm.
And I made a lot of like how to spin courses. And I love that I did. And I still am very proud of that content and they are available on my site.
Mhm.
But I'm not somebody like I'm not going to be teaching. There's so many things above and beyond me. So
Mhm.
I'm really found that I'm here for the beginner. I'm here for people that want to learn the basics on things and they were having a hard time connecting those dots with
Yeah.
spinning due to feeling like it was this tortured thing. So that's
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
niche on it. But as far as the small business aspect of it, I mean, we have a staff. I am the owner, and we do have a staff of a bunch of contract fiber artists that are
Mhm.
all a lot of them have their own businesses in their own right. And
Mhm.
I'm just fortunate enough that they will let me pay them for their wonderful expertise. And so they are all small businesses, and they're
Mhm.
all. And I'm sitting here talking about them. I love all of them, but
Mhm.
they're all moms and caretakers, and in different walks of
Mhm.
life that way, but all and farmers and homeschoolers. And I mean, oh
Yeah.
my goodness, they're all doing so much more than I'm doing, and I feel like I'm losing my mind half the time. That I think it's important, and that was kind of like I said, the name of my business was I think it's important for women, and I'm just saying women because I am a woman.
Yeah. Yeah. Just.
That's my experience in life.
Mhm.
I think that we need to be able to wear more than one hat at one time.
Absolutely.
And you need to be able to, if you want to homeschool your kids, because like that's where you live, but you
Mhm.
also want to have some money because you want to buy some whatever you want to buy, some, new yoga pants or shoes, or you say what
Sure.
you like to buy. But if I think, or just contribute to your household, you should be able to, and that's what I feel like our grandmothers used to do. They had what was it, the coffee
Yes.
money? And you would sell like, so and so is good at jams, so and so is a seamstress, and
Mhm.
everybody made money from their talents
Yes.
among themselves. And
Yeah.
that's, I mean, I don't know. I'm 38. Like I said, I have little kids at this point, but I just always the idea that you had to either pick, I'm going to have this big career and make
Mhm.
money, or else I'm just not going to do it. I mean, I hated that you had to pick. And
Yeah.
I mean, my husband has a very demanding job. So for me, I had to figure out how to do it in the middle. And so I
Yeah.
think it's through being selfishly supporting myself in those endeavors, I started being able to like grab other people along the way because I loved what they were doing. Like,
Yeah, it's a beautiful marriage though. It's a beautiful marriage of all of that outside information, and I completely am there with you. My history is that, I homeschooled my kids as well, and I had a local yarn store in my tiny town in Wisconsin, and we just did that. We homeschooled at the store. Like, so you can combine your lives. It doesn't have to be just one or the other. And I love that you've, kind of gone out and gathered all of these people and made a space for them, because that's so important.
well, I'm so glad somebody noticed. Like I said, half the time, so every once in a while, I feel like what I'm doing, people are seeing. But then for the most part, I think we all feel like we're just living our lives in like 15-minute pockets at a
Yeah.
time. So,
Connie has a comment for you. She said, "This sounds like a Proverbs 31 woman. So good."
oh, I love that.
And
Yeah, everybody forgets about her because she has the what was it, the staff and the distaff and the spindle, depending on
yes,
what translation you're looking at there. So no,
yes.
I
Well, and
totally
I'm
see
a
it.
firm believer that, you're given gifts and you're given the ability to use those gifts to provide for your family. It's just
Exactly.
it's just that way.
So
But
yeah,
yeah.
that's where I'm at with that. But and so many, like I said, a lot of the people that like one of my dye artists is also a farmer. So she
Mhm.
has her wool that goes off to mill and and I work so I mean it's just supplies that like I love. So I'm like, if they have the supplies, I love the supplies, other people want the
Mhm.
supplies, and I have a website, like that just makes
Right.
sense to me
Right.
to stick all of
Exactly.
that together.
And it's a beautiful idea. I wish I'd have thought of it, but I think I wanted to just bring out your YouTube channel, because you had said that is a big resource for you. So you've got a lot of videos that are available for people to learn how to spin your
Yes.
own yarn. And I remember ages and ages ago when I did have my yarn store. Now, I was I did not have a lot of like the hand dyed and the handmade and the really super expensive and the where it came in the fancy um skein and stuff like that because I lived in a tiny town in Wisconsin. So I sold a lot of like the red hearts and just your simple grandma yarns. So, it wasn't anything fancy, but there was a lot of yarn stores in the small touristy towns. And one of the things that I used to love is going there and being able to get like some local alpaca or something like that. And when I was on your website, I noticed that you have got a listing of 26 different fibers and the farms that you can find them at. So
Yes.
like there's that resource as well on which, coincides with the whole business aspect of, the small farms and things like that.
That actually came from, and that's like I said, you've hit me where this has recently come together. And I have, if you look on my YouTube channel, a rambly video about this. So I will not ramble here. I inherited from my friend who started the My Local Wool website,
Okay.
which used to be its own separate website. And it had the idea, and it was pre COVID. Like I said, you can see my rant on my YouTube channel about this.
Mhm.
But before COVID, there wasn't nearly as many like fiber festivals and stuff online. So her dream was Ashley Martineau, who's a good friend of mine. And a lot of people know her from YouTube and Spinolution as well. Wanted to have an interactive map where you could go in and put in your zip code or like where you'd be traveling to and pull up small farms or fiber resources like in your area.
Right.
So it was a beautiful idea. And she had personal reasons, I think, involving homeschooling as well, that she needed to, excuse me,
No problem.
offload some of that. And since my website already did a lot of that, and we were friends, it was a natural, an easy transition. And
Mhm.
that was its own separate thing. I kept it the way it was. I did add things like the fiber index that you were talking about because that's what the
Mhm.
farmers were requesting. So
Yeah.
it's a search by breeder type, so you can have breed or like I'm looking for bats or braids sort of thing for fiber
Yeah.
as well. That used to be on that website. We have recently, just for the sake of brand comfort, and also just saving money so I could spend more of it on the fiber for the farm subscription versus for the expensive map software, have just moved
Sure.
basically what we liked from My Local Wool and plugged it into the Crafty Housewife Yarns website, which
Okay.
made it from something where people used to have to pay for us to be able to help, promote this.
Okay.
And it wasn't much.
Sure.
It was like $3 a month. It wasn't that serious. But it
Yeah.
went from being something that needed to be funded to
Uh-huh.
now, since our staff was doing the work anyway.
Mhm.
So Jennifer is still doing that. So like really nothing changed. We just smashed it into one. So you can now find My Local Wool as a section on the
Nice.
Crafty Housewife Yarns website. And we do have, it's our small farm sampler bundle because subscriptions are kind of what we're known for. That
Yeah.
was the one that was on My Local Wool. And we source from our group of farmers who have found us, or fiber artists. So if you are one of those people, contact me and we will put you on the list and contact you, where we buy wool from them, and then the staff divides it up and it goes out with business cards from the farmer to the subscribers, with the idea being that, I mean, you pay us for the box because like we have to buy the wool and do all the things and pay for the
Sure.
shipping. But the idea being, if you fall in love with like, oh, I love this Wensleydale, that you don't buy it from me, you go buy it from the farmer. So you
Uh-huh.
have their contact information. So,
Mhm.
if you like your 1 ounce that you got from me, go buy a pound from them.
Right. Right.
That's the idea there.
That was another thing that I really liked about your website is that you've got subscription boxes, but you've got like subscription boxes from all over the place. I mean, it's not just I get this one box per month and it's going to be, it's always going to have this basic format. Like you can really, if you're a spinner or, a hand done yarn user, I know I'm saying that horribly, but um hand spun, if you're into that kind of stuff and those are the things that you like to use, you've got a really nice variety of things available for people to get like a subscription box, or do you do one-off boxes as well?
We don't do one-off boxes. The way our subscriptions are set up are the way my website worked. So it was that's how it's set up. So I definitely was not reinventing the wheel. You can subscribe or unsubscribe at any time, and we do actually have a lot of people that will like start out with one and then they have two and then they try this one so they cancel that. Well, so we have
Yeah.
people that, like I said, I recognize their names, that they move all over the place,
Bounce
and
around.
it's just my website. You can sign in and just do that yourself, or if you don't want to do that, you can email me and are like, hey, cancel that, and then I do it for you. So it's very like, there's no contracts, you're not locked in. I mean, we've actually had on the rare occasion that somebody's like, my wife passed away and this was her subscription, we've refunded people. So I mean,
Sure.
it's a super, I know, I hate feeling like I'm signed up for something that then it's like you sign your life away on it. Like, I mean, we are definitely a small business at heart and in operation. So, I mean, we try to make it as easy as we can, but the subscription aspect of it allows for it to exist, because then that way we can plan for it. We know we can buy the right amount from the right people. So, we really appreciate people signing up for the subscriptions, because, like I said, that helps give us money to pay people from,
Sure,
and helps
absolutely.
buy the supplies and keep the ball rolling. But we have subscriptions for spinners. So a few different spinning fiber options, depending on if you want to do braids or bats or both. We have a few different yarn options, hand dyed, a hand spun, and then the biggest one that was actually, we were excited, it got written up in business. God, I've completely spaced. Business Insider. That was it. It
Insider?
was randomly written up on Business Insider, and I had no clue. So it was like a Merry
Oh,
Christmas
neat.
last year in the holiday season for best yarn subscription, like for gift giving for knitters or crocheters. And that was our, we called it the Cottage Yarn Bundle. And it is, my idea with that was I wanted it to be enough yarn, because I'd signed up for subscriptions in the past, naming no names, where you would get one yarn that was like great, and then it was like you had to buy more to make whatever the suggested pattern was, or you were just like, well, I got this one thing.
Yeah.
So with this one, you always get goodies. We just call them goodies, but they're
Yeah.
usually stitch markers or accessories or bags or scissors. But they also come from small businesses. Dawn, that I know was on
Yes.
here.
I love Dawn.
So we get a lot of stuff from Twice Sheared Sheep. She was our original partnership with that. So you're supporting the accessory small business, the small business that the yarns come from, because we source from small, like family-owned mills, USA sourced yarn. And the key with it is we give you pattern suggestions for knitting and crochet. And you would go online, and search the patterns that you wanted. Most of them are free. Some of them are paid patterns, but that's between you and the designer. But the idea is that you have enough yarn to make the projects that we suggest.
Okay,
So
sure.
you don't have to like, well, now I have this, I have to go buy more yarn. So you've got enough yarn that you can make. So, the bundle, you may get 3 smaller things of yarn. You may get 1 bigger thing of yarn, depending on, what it was made out of, how much it cost, and what the projects are. So that is
Well,
the one
and we
thing.
had talked briefly before we started about patterns and your free knit kit.
Okay.
Can you tell us about that?
That's a fun story too. I do have on my website free patterns, and the ones written by me are probably better termed loose knitting suggestions. Because I do not claim, that's why they're free. I don't claim to be a professional pattern knitter by any stretch of the imagination. I am dyslexic, and so I'm doing good to write an email without typos. So luckily, some of the staff does help proofread my patterns, but I do have a lot of patterns, as well as some of the staff's patterns, that they actually are talented pattern designers. So there's a lot here too. So they're great for brainless knitting, is what I call them, for mine anyhow. The other ones are more complicated patterns. But those are the free patterns. They started out as just for hand spun, because nobody ever knows what to make with hand spun, which always confused me, because I'm like, anything you make out of yarn, you can make out of hand spun. But that always seemed to throw people off. So we started that part of the website as like you spun this yarn, so now you can make something out of it. So they're geared towards, we say, hand spun, hand dyed, or unique yarns. So they are patterns that are great for that. They're free, so you just click on them. The free knit kit was, we fell in love, by we, I mean the staff and I fell in love with Gallery Yarns, which is a great small yarn business out of New York State. And they had this fabulous yarn. It was called Asana Bulky. And when we found it, I was like, this yarn has the exact structure, look, and fabulousness of hand spun, but it's mill spun.
Oh, wow.
We were just sitting over there like dying over it, because if you're a spinner and you spin one skein of yarn and it's like a 2-ply bulky, and then you're like, well, this is great, but what am I going to do with it? And you need to be able to bulk buy like some solid colors to go with that one accent piece that you spun. Then you're left with, I mean, you owned a yarn shop, you've got this like thick, bulky, textured hand spun, and then you've got all this like little wimpy, like it's not going to go together, or it will, but you'll have like this one heavy section. So we loved the Asana Bulky because it had the same structure and size and everything of hand spun. So we were just like losing our minds over it. And so I became friends with the owner, and I don't even remember how I did it. Somehow we ended up buying the entire, I don't even know how we did it. Somehow I managed to buy the entire world stock of Asana Bulky yarn.
That's hilarious.
We loved it so much. So now it's ours. We just love it. So we had all of this, and I wanted to make knit kits. So I have a knit kit that uses 3 skeins of the Asana Bulky, which is like I said, it's got the texture of hand spun. It's a combination of wool and alpaca. It's the best. And I wanted it to be sort of an introduction to either new knitters or knitters that just had only knit with really like basic yarn. So like kind of pushing the envelope on people. So I thought that it would be fun for an exchange of, of course, like I said, I'm a marketer, getting people to be aware that we existed as a small business and be on our email list and get our patterns and be excited about the stuff we were excited about, that you can sign up to get this free knit kit. And you do have to cover shipping because I'm not made of money. But besides the shipping, you do get 3 skeins of free yarn. And we have the pattern, which I even got proofread, and I'm told it's very lovely. I should have brought it for you, but it's a sampler shawl. So it goes over the knit stitch, purl, eyelets, and garter stitch. So what I felt would give a new knitter or somebody that was just starting out, like kind of a sampler, like an idea of how to do those different stitches, but then it's just repeated throughout a shawl. So then you get it down. So that was my,
that's a really generous box.
Well, no, I'm very excited about it. And it is, so depending on when you see this, as supplies last, we do still have the world's biggest supply of Asana Bulky. So I think you could maybe stumble across it if somebody had it in a yarn shop, left over. But you can also purchase it just like regular. You don't have to get it as part of a kit, because we do have people do that. They get the kit, they love it, and then they buy more. We've got it listed just for sale. And so that's the free knit kit. But I also have lots of free ebooks and all sorts of stuff. So
that's fun. And then we had also talked about your Facebook group where there's a little bit more interaction and stuff like that there. Would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. We have a Facebook group, and like I was saying, I don't know if that's the cool thing to do anymore, but we like our Facebook group. We always joke that we are the most fun fiber arts group on the internet, because I have been personally kicked out of so many fiber arts groups.
Oh my gosh.
It's horrible. So we are really lax.
What did you do?
Yeah, I know. I'm not for everybody. Basically, I've gotten kicked out of lots of fiber arts groups because I also sell Spinlution spinning wheels. And I actually I do some of the marketing social media for Spinlution because they just love me so much. They kept me around for that too. And I love them as well. So it works out. But so people know this about me, like my name and Spinlution go together. So somebody would be in another fiber arts group and they would ask a question like, hey, this is broken, or I have a question and I don't have a dealer. And then somebody else would tag me. I'm like minding my own business. They would tag me and be like, Erin, answer this question. And then I would answer the question, and then they would kick me out of the group because I was salesy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna sell this person a wheel. I made $0 on this whole thing. I'm just trying to be a good person over here.
I'm
So
having.
that's been our joke, is that we are the most chill fiber arts group on the Facebook. You are welcome to promote your business, other people's businesses, your favorite farmer, your grandma,
Oh
whoever. You're not going to get kicked out of ours. We have kicked out a few people for selling weird things like bed sheets that we don't think they actually knew they were in a fiber arts group. But other than
Yeah,
that, we
that's
do
funny.
knit-alongs and we do Tour de Fleece. I think we're like the only place to do Tour de Fleece, which is a big spinner
What is
event.
that?
Oh, Tour de Fleece. It's very funny. Okay.
Okay.
So in the spinner community, when the Tour de France happens and those spinners are on the bikes, the
Okay.
spinners, we spin too. So while they're spinning, we spin. And it started out, and it's primarily on Ravelry.
Uh-huh.
I also do not Ravelry very well. I use it as a place to get patterns, but I've also been yelled at and kicked out of many fiber arts groups on Ravelry as well.
Fun.
So
All
we
right.
started
Well, you
doing
seem
it.
like my kind of people. So
Yeah. No, if there's a group to be kicked out of, the PTA doesn't like me either. So I get kicked out of many groups. But we started doing it in the Facebook group because we found that all of our Facebook people also didn't do well on the Ravelry forum. So we became the Crafty Misfits, and we're Team
yeah,
Crafty Misfits, and
that's
we do
awesome.
we do Tour de Fleece every year. So we just finished that, and we're about to start a group knit along that's being hosted by Jessica A's, with
I know
double the
Jessica.
stitches. So she's actually handling that. So it will be handled in a professional type manner. I sold the kits, but she's doing the handling.
Awesome.
So that's good. We're all excited. I'm not handling that. And so yeah, our Facebook group is fun. It's the only Facebook group I hang out in unless I'm tagged and about to be kicked out of another one.
I'm gonna put that back up there just so everybody sees it. Make sure that you go join. Get in on the fun.
Yes, it's a
And
very supportive. If you're a new spinner or a knitter or a crocheter, we've got lots of people that will help you with all the things.
Connie says she needs to join these groups. And then one more thing that I wanted to bring up from your website, just because it's very interesting. What is the yarn cult?
Well, you can tell we just name things stupid names because they make us laugh. Is an
They're
ongoing
attention
thing.
grabbers, right?
Yeah. Well, they're not even. Yeah, they're literally just to make us laugh. So we have a. It's very professional. It is a group chat of me and the staff with Crafty Housewife Yarns, and we cover many topics, both on and off work topics. That I cannot divulge here, but so we were all talking. I don't remember what we were talking about, but we somehow started. Oh, I know. Okay, here. It's a reference that you may or may not get. Remember the book/movie Fight Club from like way back in the day? And it was like the first rule of Fight Club is like you don't talk about Fight Club. Somebody in the group started, we were talking about like the first rule of like yarn cult is, and so then of course it made us laugh. So then we all started like throwing in like the second and third and fourth rule of yarn cult. And it was literally just a stupid group chat. And then they started demanding that they needed t-shirts that said yarn cult. So then I made them lunch boxes. Actually, that was the last year's staff gift. So it started out as literally just like a fun, I think we renamed our staff chat from staff chat got renamed to yarn cult. So then we deemed ourselves the yarn cult, and the t-shirts were really cute. And so then
I saw that they are cute. I mean, I don't know what it is about skulls. I have never had a problem with them because sometimes in the Christian community everybody's like skulls, and I just never really had that issue. I'm drawn to them for some reason.
Well, I have an anthropology degree, so I mean, I like spent most of my college like studying skulls, and so yeah, no. And then I also grew up listening to heavy metal, so me and skulls go very well together. And but yeah, I'm not even sure which one of us came up with yarn cult, but my website came out because I love Squarespace, updated to where I've got my courses and paid content are on the website, but you could also have like a free content section. And
yes, I
at the
saw
time
that
this all started like coming about, I had amassed years worth of free content, and it was all like in this email newsletter and that, it was all like over the place, and it was driving me nuts. And I do like to organize occasionally. So I was like, I'm gonna stick all of our free content in this one section in the courses section on my site, but instead of paying for it, it's just free. And so it needed a name. So we were like, well, Yarn Cult. So that's
Yeah.
what the Yarn Cult is the free content section. And it has spinner stuff, knitter stuff, crochet stuff, just general fiber arts stuff. Any sort of weird stuff that we have or shall come up with will be in the Yarn Cult. So,
Yeah,
and you
and I
can't
looked
talk
and it's
about it.
been
That's the first
since
rule.
2016, so you've been doing it for a hot minute.
God, has it been that long? Yeah, it has been. I've been doing it. Yeah, it's been that long.
Wow. Well, that's cool. I like it. I just find it interesting. And then you and I had also, we like to talk about taboo stuff. So let's talk about the fiber arts world. You you
Gonna
have
get me
some
in trouble
stuff
for
on your chest you'd
fiber
like
arts
to
world.
share.
Oh man. Well, the fiber arts world, for those of you that don't have a small business and or designers or something, got really confusing and scary. I feel like a few years ago, where it was like, especially if you're me, I'm really busy, so I'm just like minding my own business. I honestly, that's one of the reasons that we have to have Yarn Cult, is so that other people can tell me what's going on, because I can't tell you any of the big names of anybody. I don't know who any of the big players are. I'm completely oblivious
Yeah.
over here with my small farmers. And it just got to where I felt like, especially online, it was, are you on Ravelry or are you not? Are you this or are you that? And I hated it. And I mean, you really do feel like, as a business owner, I mean, you're trying to like make money and pay your staff and do the things. So it's like, you don't want to mess up and then mess all that up because other people also depend on you. But I mean, I'm not going to sit there and, take sides and make stands. I'm like, I sell yarn. Like, I'm not, everyone is free to have their own feelings about their own thoughts. Like, I'm not here to influence you on that. I'm just here to be like, this yarn is great. So that's where we're at with that.
Well, I agree. I'm in the same place as far as you bring up the Ravelry thing, and that I wanted to be angry over what happened, but I also, like you said, I'm a business and I can't just shut off streams of income. So when you face stuff like that, it's hard to be a small business owner in situations like that. And this whole cancel culture that's come up within, I mean, the arts industry, and well, really everywhere. It's touching everything now.
Well, that's actually why My Local Wool is no longer its own website, was because it started out, another funny story, because it had started out as somebody else's baby. I was always trying to be very respectful of that as its own brand versus Crafty Housewife Yarns, which clearly just annoyed everyone from the start with its name and its pink and all of that.
I just don't get that.
I know. I'm like, we're already annoying, but I was trying really hard not to be annoying on My Local Wool and be very like the more chill, like that's the other thing with the fiber arts world, and y'all will know what I'm talking about, where especially I guess I feel like with the spinners, I felt like the persona that you had to have was that you were this like beautiful childless woodland nymph who just did yarn all the time and was very like crunchy and granola.
Yes.
And then you have me, and I have on like children and yoga pants and gin and too much coffee, and I cuss too much. And I did not physically fit into the like uber beautiful woodland nymph persona of spinners and the fiber art. So I mean, that's probably has hindered my growth, especially on like Instagram, because like that's not what I am. And with My Local Wool, God, it was so stupid. I can't even remember. Somebody got upset. It is so stupid. Even somebody got upset. Our Instagram on My Local Wool was, we would, from the list of farmers who had signed up for us to promote them. So we didn't just pull them out of the air. They were on the list of people who signed up wanting to be promoted. We would promote them because that's what we did. At
what
My
you do,
Wool, And so we had people that I guess they forgot that they'd signed up to be promoted, and then they somehow thought we were like stealing their stuff. And I'm like,
gosh,
it literally says, this is beautiful. Go to here to get more from them. like it had, like, we were in no way monetarily, but I was just like, I don't know. It hit me on a wrong day, and I was just very like, burn it all down. Where I was just like, I'm not going to.
Oh my God, I go through that so often.
I was like, I'm just not going to keep. I'm like, I'm paying someone, them to promote you. because you signed up to be promoted. And
Yes.
we're trying to send customers to you. And I'm like,
Yes.
I'm not living in a world where that somehow, I had like social justice warriors trying to cancel culture us. There were screenshots like hashtag stop my local wool from promoting small farms and family.
God forbid.
I couldn't. I absolutely,
Mm.
I couldn't with it anymore. I just hate, so yeah, I felt much better because we took what was good from that. And then, of course, emailed all of our farmers and we're like, hey, those of you who remember that you signed up for this, we're going to be over here now.
Oh
So
my
we just
goodness
moved
gracious.
that over to Crafty Housewife Yarns, where I now feel much more comfortable to be myself. So that is
Absolutely.
much better.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's just, you saying that, it's so trippy. I remember, I want to say, well, when I owned my local yarn store, um, it was in the beginning of when yarn was really becoming cool. It was like 2006.
Oh yeah.
And
I
so
didn't know
everybody
what-
was like, it's the fancy yarn. They only wanted the fancy yarn. And I would have tourists come in and they would just turn their knitting noses up at me because first, I'm a crocheter. And second of all, I didn't have any of the fancy yarn. And they'd be like, oh, and of course, I'm a little town girl and I'm in the middle of Wisconsin with my Yatter accent. And, I didn't know anything about knitting. So I learned how to knit so that I could talk to the knitters. And I went shopping at all of the other touristy stores so that I could buy some of the fancy wool so that I knew what I was talking about, kind of thing. But the industry itself has come such a long way now, and yet it's still kind of in that same spot. Like, progression as far as crochet is cool now. It's not just knitting, because for a while there was only knitting. You could only be cool if you were a knitter. And that's where that whole, woodland nymph, um, you know, everybody's a fairy and we're all eating yogurt and granola, um, was very, very prevalent, especially then. But now it's kind of gone where everybody's cool, but we all have to be making the same thing,
Yeah. What do you
and
think the
it's,
same thing is now as a designer?
well, right now it's the stupid blanket yarn. And I
The
hate
big
it.
thick
I'm
stuff?
sorry. I'm just gonna be opinionated about it. I don't like it. I think it's ugly.
The big chunky stuff?
Yeah, the stuff they
Okay.
make is really cute. It's very cute. Except the first thing I think of is it's gonna shed all over everybody. You're never going to be able to wash it. God forbid they vomit on it in the middle of the night or whatever. And a lot of this stuff, they've got the glue on eyes and not the stuck on. I have so many things to say about it, and I probably shouldn't, but I do.
It's a spinner. I have lots of opinions about that. And they do have Galler, we actually sell it. So you go on my website. The Super Bee, you can get legit yarn, like actual chunky yarn. And like I said, shout out Galler. Super Bee yarn is the queen of that, in my opinion. But the stuff that's like the big, it's literally roving. It's roving wool. It's what you use to spin yarn. So all the
And it just
spinner
comes out.
community, meanwhile, we're all over there like, there's no twist in that. How you said it's all going to come apart. So,
Mhm.
oh goodness, yeah.
Well,
No,
and because I've seen those blankets made, the ones that are just done out of that roving stuff, and I've had people say, "Oh my God, could you make me one of these?" No, because first of all, I'm going to have half of it on me while I'm knitting it. The
yeah,
other part is it's going to rip apart.
yeah.
There's no strength in that at all. It's really pretty to look at from a distance.
I do think they've made some stuff now that has that look, but is actually held together in some way. So I'm not smart enough on that industry. I'm not hating on all of it. I
Me
think
either,
there is
really,
some
because I
good
don't like
out
it.
there, but the some of the stuff that, like said, as a spinner, I'm like, that's roving. That's not yarn. So yeah, no, I feel you on that particular soapbox.
Yeah, and it breaks so easy, and there's just no strength in it. But this is a fad, as so many of them are, and eventually everybody's going to go and find it. There's going to be another new yarn that's going to come out, and everybody's going to be all over that. So I stick to my worsted weights and my DKs, and I'm happy there.
Well, you're so
So
right. Yarn snobbery could be so much of a thing. And I mean, I'm from somebody that sells luxury yarn. So, I mean, I
yeah,
guess I'm on the other end of that. But I'm also within spinning, I don't know, both with yarn, but I especially feel like with spinning, merino is like the king. like the merino braids and then the super, and they're so soft. And I get that they're so soft, and that's wonderful. And we sell a whole bunch of merino braids. So, I'm not hating on that either. But they're also with pushing the small farm stuff, like you can still spin something that has a little bit of debris in it. It just falls out when you spin it. You can still spin something that's slightly rougher and make some great mittens out of it. Like there's so many, or slipper socks. There's so many different things you can do. Everything doesn't have to be the same. And that's why, I don't know, we could annoy people with some of our subscriptions. I sell a lot of our monthly braid club, just regular merino, regular rambouillet, but we did basically deconstructed, reconstructed braid for July, which I think was met with mixed reviews, but it was all shear 'em to save 'em, primitive USA wool, and then mohair mixed in. So, I mean, it was really wacky. I will give you that. But I wanted to put something out there. Basically, just we like to push people's boundaries a little bit.
I was just gonna say, because you're like, somebody might not have ever touched that before.
Exactly. So I mean, if I lose a few subscribers, I might have made other people happy. So
Yes, and I think I think it's a great idea, just because I like to push myself personally. I'm a person that challenges myself, but I think it's okay when somebody else challenges me too. And gives me something interesting, because I might have never purchased that on my own, but now that it's in my hands, what am I going to do with it?
Well, the same thing with spinning, and that was with a lot of my courses. I mentioned, I feel like I'm here for like the people that are trying to learn. I feel like, whereas you found that there was like yarn store snobbery, there definitely could be yarn spinning snobbery. And then there's so many different types of spinning wheels. And I obviously am Team Spin Lucian, because they're so easy to learn on and they don't have a bunch of extra bells and whistles. They're very straightforward, which I like. But so many people were scared to ever start spinning because they were constantly feeling like they were doing it wrong. And like, there's not really a wrong way to do it. You just make ugly yarn. You make hideous things. The same thing with when you knit or crochet. You make
it's all practice.
Yeah, it's my 10-year-old's trying to learn to knit and crochet, and she's a perfectionist, and we're learning these lessons right now at my house. But I wanted to make spinning lessons for people that were easy to understand, and with a heavy emphasis on like, it's okay. Like, it doesn't have to be, as long as you're turning it into yarn and you're happy with it and you got a wonderful experience out of doing it, then like, don't let the yarn police get you,
Yes, absolutely. I do the same thing in my tutorials, and a lot of them, I'm not polished. I don't have the fancy setup. I've got me and my iPhone, and so there are times when I'm going along and I'm like, hey, I just screwed up. We're just going to give ourselves some grace and move on,
Yeah, all sorts of life lessons in fiber arts.
Absolutely. Alrighty. Are there any, like, we're at about 45 minutes here, so we're going to start closing things down. Oh, that's okay. I'm a chatty girl, and so it happens. But is there anything that you would like to share? For somebody who is just getting into spinning, and my husky's starting to howl at me because she's got to go potty. But is there anything that you would share with the watchers of this now or later? What would you give them as starting advice?
For spinning or for fiber arts in general?
I would just say fiber arts in general. I mean, because you are a spinner, but you also touch many aspects of the fiber arts world.
I mean, I think pretty much what I just said is, anything that you start out with, it's not going to be perfect. And I feel like everybody needs to shake that whole idea that when you start anything, it's going to be perfect. Right. And even when you finish stuff, it's not going to be perfect. And you just kind of have to figure out a way to do it that makes sense in your brain. I mean, like I said, and I'm teaching my daughter to knit. I might hold my yarn looped around my pinky that way, and that's what the tension works for me. But for her, it might be something different. And I imagine there's a crochet analogy in there, but I'm not good enough at crochet to.
It's the exact same.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then, I mean, same thing with spinning. Like I said, there's worsted style and woolen style and a bunch of different types of fibers. I mean, you just you got to find your own way to do that. Oh, you're fine. My lovebirds in the other room making all sorts of noise. So I would just say get some affordable supplies to start with. And, don't start out trying to make your favorite dream yarn. Start out trying to just have fun doing it. And then
Yeah.
just keep doing it. Like
Yeah.
literally just keep doing it. And you will eventually hit your sweet spot on it. And then you can start experimenting with different supplies. Like I said, I do have a ton of free content. If anybody's particularly wants to do spinning on my YouTube channel, it is all very hodgepodge all over the place. So, I mean, there are some playlists, but you'd have to click through there. And I come out with new stuff fairly often. If you want something that's not all, that's in order and has like print-outable homework and stuff that is much more organized versus just how the spirit moved me on YouTube that day, I do have a courses section on my website, and we've got everything, like I said, from the free to they're all affordable, like a drop spindle one, beginner spinning wheel one, an art yarn one, and then the dream yarn course is actually set up to where it's a monthly thing. I think it's $8 a month, which is not that much. And
Yeah.
with the idea, it's got a ton of content. And it's the how to, from like I've never laid eyes on a drop spindle of a spinning wheel through knowing how to put it on a nitty knotty and wet set it and then make something out of it. So I think it's like 5 hours worth of content, and I
Wow.
wanted it to be monthly. And it, like I said, also has print-outable homework so that, if you got into it, and it was very low cost. I used to sell it as like a one-off, I think around $120. And then you just had it forever. Like it was all of the content, and it had the art. It was a lot on there. And so I've kind of broken it apart, and I wanted it to be very affordable so that, if you were just dipping your toe in the water, I mean, for $8, you could kind of get some
Yeah.
lessons. And if after 2 months you wanted to cancel it, you could. And then if you wanted to pick it back up a year later when like your kids go to school, then you could, so I just wanted
Yeah.
it to be an affordable resource for people. And that's definitely the most organized would be the actual courses, or of course Yarn Cult.
Yeah.
My YouTube channel, like I said, there's a million. I've got videos on there. I don't even know what they are anymore. There's so many videos
Yeah.
on my YouTube channel. So
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to go check that out because I like to watch videos.
they are not professionally filmed either. So you also
Oh,
get to watch the progression of
no
my
judgment from
hair
me.
color and camera professionality, and my dogs getting bigger throughout
Oh,
the
that's
years on my
funny.
YouTube channel. So some of them have like really terrible camera angles and bad lighting. It's it's okay.
It's a learning process.
Yeah, for sure.
Alrighty. Well, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to say goodbye to Erin for now, and I'm sure we'll have the chance to have another conversation again. But thank you so much for joining me today on the Buzz with Busy Crochet. I truly appreciate you bringing your insight from a whole different side of the yarn fiber world, or the fiber arts world, I should say. It's been just really good to get to know you.
Awesome. Well,
And
thanks so much for having me.
Connie says, thank you. See you later. Alicia says, thank you both. Great info. And so we thank everybody for joining us today. And make sure that you go to Erin's website and you sign up for her newsletter. I know that she gives you 20% off right away. So go shopping
Yeah,
and
there's a
go buy
million things
beautiful
to
things
sign up
from
for.
her. What's that?
There's a million things to sign up for. I'm not even sure
There
what all.
are. I mean,
It's
it's a
just click
very,
all the
very
buttons.
it's a comprehensive website. I mean, go take a look. There's so much information and it's a lot of fun. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Erin.
Have a good one. Thank you.
You bet.